before we head straight to the review proper itself. Morning, just recently we know the drama with a particular cryptocurrency platform known as Binance being suspended by the Nigerian government. Of course, we got two sound bites, one from the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Kadoso, speaking on the case of Binance and how much have gone through that particular platform and why it had to be clamped down. And of course, Bayo Nanuga also yesterday, speaking on national television, got to speak about what transpired with the federal government of Nigeria and Binance and why they ought to be clamped down. Let's get to hear Olayemi Kadoso, the CBN governor, get to speak on Binance.
Certain practices go on that indicate illicit flows going through a number of these entities, and suspicious flows at best. In the case of Binance, in the last 1 year alone, $26 billion has passed through Binance Nigeria from sources and users who we cannot adequately identify. There's a lot that is going on now as a result of collaboration between the different agencies, which includes EFCC and the police, and of course the office of the NSA. And in due course, as we progress and have more information to share, we will certainly share. But suffice to say that we are determined to do everything it takes to ensure that we take charge of our market, or put it differently, do not allow others to manipulate our markets in a way that ends up distortionary and suboptimizes for all Nigerians.
Okay.
All right, that was Olayemi Cardoso making a statement about Binance. Of course, when it comes to conversations this period, you would definitely get to hear Bayo Nanuga making his own contributions, giving his own 2 cents concerning Binance. And he says that Binance will destroy Nigeria's economy if not stopped. Let's hear from the horse's mouth.
How did the government allow the saboteurs to take over? How did the government allow the saboteurs to have a sway?
That is why the government moved against Binance. Some people sit down using the cyberspace to dictate even our exchange rate, hijacking the role of the CBN. They just sit down and fix anything they like. And we were told, for instance, that if we don't clamp down on Binance, Binance will destroy the economy of this country. They just fix rate. So is it digital Binance?
Okay, so we've heard Bayo Nanuga speak on the situation with Binance and why they had to be clamped down. According to Bayo Nanuga, he actually said that Binance had to be clamped down because they just wake up and fix rates. And this, a lot of people actually boycott or taking on the responsibility of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We'll be talking more about this particular story on the front page review itself, so we wouldn't get to analyze much this morning right here. But let's get to listen to the Association of Table Water Producers in Nigeria. For a lot of people, they've seen the bag of pure water rise to 500.
Exactly.
A colleague of mine said he bought a bag of pure water for 650 naira.
Someone told me that in traffic, he was in traffic. I mean, it was really hot. A lot of people were trying to get water, and this person walked up to him and said, just a sachet of pure water is 200 naira.
200 for one sachet.
One sachet of pure water, Simeon. Outrageous. But let's hear what they have to say.
You are the Messi, so you don't have a choice. This is what they had to say about the cost of production.
That the way things are going, water might go to 100 naira per sachet, which we don't want to. We don't want Nigeria to buy water more than 20 naira per sachet. The way it's going now, because of the cost of production, you all know, as at the time we are buying diesel for 220 naira, water was 10 naira. As I'm talking to you now, we are buying diesel for 1,700 naira, 750 naira sometimes. Yet, check the ratio. So we don't want sachet water to leave the system.
Okay, so that was, one of the spokesperson for the Association of Table Water Production, producers, I beg your pardon, in the country, saying, as things are, we might get to buy a sachet of pure water for 100 naira if time is not taken. Right now, a sachet is being sold for 50 naira. I don't know if you're aware. In some parts of Abuja. Yesterday, I actually got, this dispenser water. This is not me trying to give free marketing, but it's necessary I say this so Nigerians get to know. A can of the Seaway dispenser water was being sold at 1,200. This was something we used to buy at 550 before now. Mm-hmm. And then Elim, which we used to sell for 450, is now 1,000 naira. As we speak, as at yesterday. When you look at these things, you get to ask yourself, what is happening? Gessi.
I mean, inflation is taking us on a different course, but we'll definitely get to see some improvement, some sort of improvement, hopefully, because some economists have been saying that this was bound to happen, that it is possible that this could have been worse. Well, that's a probability, but at the moment Nigerians are feeling the brunt of it, and they don't care what could have happened. They only care about what is happening at the moment. And the truth is, the reality is, Nigerians are struggling at the moment. What the government does from now moving forward would go a long way in alleviating. Right now, the naira is appreciating, against the dollar in the forex market. Let's watch and see what Friday will say at the end of the week.
Don't be too excited, because when it comes to this Nigeria, the value of the naira, we see what happens. But the CBN is doing all it can to ensure that the CBN, the naira, appreciates over the dollar. We get to reach out to Rufai in a bit, and of course he'll be lending his voice to some of the headlines we'll be discussing this morning. But something interesting also happened yesterday with Bayo Onanuga. He made a statement that has gotten a lot of people talking. I'm hoping to probably get to hear Joe Ajero speak on this matter and respond to what Bayo Onanuga said yesterday. I'm going to play a part of it so you get to hear Bayo Onanuga himself speak about Joe Ajero, the NLC president.
The federal government in it. No, that's not the position of the federal government. That should be the reading of any reasonable Nigerian, that Joe Ajero is not actually playing the politics of labor the way it should be played. Sometimes that he appears to me as a very unreasonable labor leader. Why call people on the street when you can sit down and hold further talks with the government of Nigeria to know where the problem lies?
Gessi, you heard that. He said Joe Ajero, according to him, is not playing the politics of labor the way it should be. And then he made a resounding statement about Joe Ajero, saying, sometimes it appears that Joe Ajero is an unreasonable labor leader. I'm waiting for Joe Ajero to come back. Exactly. Let's see a Bayo Onanuga and Joe Ajero face off. Interesting. It will be really interesting.
All right. We'll be joined by Rufai Hussaini in a moment. Let's take a break. We'll be back. Stay with us.
We bring you all the big stories and what's behind them. Politics, business, sports, news, all on VOP 96.1 FM. Now you have a voice. It's thrilling, controversial, heated, thought-provoking. Catch Rufai Hussaini.
Came here to misrepresent the facts today as regards subsidy removal.
Kesire Aqua.
Report was that $9 billion is lost yearly to illegal mining.
And Simeon Sunday.
If you know something of this nature is happening within your community, why didn't you raise an alarm?
On the Frontpage Review, weekdays at 7:15 a.m. Now you have a voice.
Welcome back. This is Frontpage Review 96.1 FM VOP. Now you have a voice. Well, this morning is it's a very interesting conversation that we're going to be having, because we'll be joined by El-Rufai in just a moment, and then at 8 o'clock we'll be joined by Mr. Larry Ogoego, who's standing by to join the conversation. It's a really interesting thing. You know, several things that are happening in the country at the moment. But yesterday we saw the president visit. We saw the president traveled to Ogun State yesterday to visit Ondo State. Yes, Akure. You know, he was welcomed by the Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa, who is the governor of Ekiti State as well, and other top government officials and politicians, and he paid a visit to the national leader of the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Cultural Organization, Afenifere, as well. So at this point in time, we're seeing the president move from one place to the other, but that's just, you know, that's just on the side. We have Mr. El-Rufai on the phone this morning. Good morning to you and welcome.
Bless you guys. How are you?
Fine.
Good morning, Mr. El-Rufai.
Yeah, morning. Yeah.
Great to have you on the show this morning. But before we move on to talk about the statement of the president yesterday in Akure, let's quickly touch on this as brief as possible. We saw the statement of Bayo Onanuga yesterday, where he actually said, you know, Joe Ajero is unreasonable and he's not playing the politics of labor as he should. What do you have to say about that statement by Bayo? Quickly.
Probably, I think Bayo Onanuga should now teach us how to play the politics of labor for a government that reneges on their promises. Probably he should tell us why the government didn't pay the wage award all this while. And when labor says they're going to go on strike, all of a sudden they started paying that money. Maybe there are many things he will have to teach us. I mean, you know, he's very vast in labor matters. So he should teach us about a very untrustworthy government and how they don't meet their own demands. Because probably if they met their own demands, Labour will not be going on strike. They had a 16-point demand since last year, and the government did not meet their demands. And now Bayo is another guy saying they can't play politics. Maybe Bayo Onanuga can also tell us more how the government went to twist Labour at the back and threatened Labour, and that's why they called off the strike after one day, because that was what
Joe Ajero
claimed. Maybe the government should tell us more about the threat for people's fundamental right to be able to go on protest.
Okay. Anyway, that being said, you know, I would have loved to touch on one other story that has to do with Bayo, but I'll keep that for the last. But let's talk about the president. Yesterday, the president, you know, visited Ondo, Akure. He met with Ayedatiwa, the governor of the state, and some other governors, Ekiti State's governor as well. And he made a remark while visiting, you know, the leader of the Pan-Yoruba group, Afenifere. He actually said this, that he's taking full responsibility for all the problems in the country, and of course he has promised Nigerians that the country will recover. What do you have to say about the president's statement?
Jimmy, that will take responsibility for the problems in the country, but he has to take responsibility. The box stops with him. There's no big deal about what he said. He's the leader of the country. The box stops with him. If the country is not well run, he will take responsibility. Any good times that happens in the country, he will take responsibility. So for the fact that the leader says, "Oh, I'm taking responsibility for my job," so should we now clap for him? I say, thank you for taking responsibility. I mean, those things are no brainers. I mean, let's move on to the substantive matter.
But you don't know, we barely see leaders, especially in this climate, take responsibility for their actions. So at least is this not a good start for President Tinubu?
So does it make it right or delusional that a leader that caused the problem takes responsibility? Is this something we should celebrate? A leader that didn't think through a problem and caused more hardship for the people? Because he's saying he's taking responsibility now, we should roll out the drums. Oh yeah, let me roll out the drums. Thank you.
But sincerely speaking,
thank you.
But
President Tinubu for taking responsibility. Thank you.
But sincerely speaking, Tinubu, aside him making that statement, we've seen him try to put things in place. We understand that it seemed like the president started his administration on the wrong footing, but he has tried to do all he can to redeem that in the past couple of months. And part of it is the El-Rufai report, which we saw him try to implement, or he has said he's going to implement, of which, you know, in 2022, you also put out the statement that subsequent administration after Buhari should consider implementing that particular report. But right now, even the same report, you are very pessimistic about it.
I'll tell you more about that statement. Very good. Because the Orosari report have been politicized, just like President Tinubu, to a large extent, is politicizing the Orosari reports too now. Two other administrations implemented the same Orosari report to no avail. Because it's been politicized. And that's why I put that word on there. You must implement the Orosari report. Announcing to implement it is not going to work. Implementing it must be a benchmark. Because things have shifted since that time. Today you have over 1,000 government agencies as against 541. The report itself is even obsolete as we speak today. And secondly, you put it under the
But was it
SGF.
not obsolete even as at 2022 when you made that remark?
Wait a minute. Because it's a benchmark. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I get you.
The Orosari report is a benchmark for cutting cost of governance. That's why the other committees that looked at it put a white paper and they approved implementation, which nothing happened. And let me tell you why it is a smoke screen President Tinubu has put out again, and I'll prove it to you. You want to implement the Orosari report, you have a retinue of special advisors. Why can't you start by cutting those ones? Why, when you don't need any legal representative to cut them? You've gone ahead now, you're taking your son and 38 other people to travel with you to Qatar after you said you were going to take just few number of people. Thirdly, you cannot, go and write this down, and I'll bet you on this. You cannot implement that report in 12 weeks. That 12-week timeline, it shows a lack of understanding of what is going on. You have to deal with the ministries, you have to deal with labor, you have to deal with the political will to be able to get it done. You have to not deal with the National Assembly because most of those establishments are created on National Assembly. These are the empirical facts at which we talk. We don't just talk. So when the brigade goes on Twitter and says, El-Rufai, you talked about the Orosari report in 2022. It's a very shallow argument. Because what I'm saying is that this report has been implemented on 2 occasions and there were a lot of bottlenecks that there was no political will to go through. So announcing that in the midst of hardship, after you have a bloated cabinet in the first place, doesn't mean you are serious about it, with due respect. If President Tinubu was serious about it, why have close to 50 ministers in the first place? You bloated the cost of governance in the first place, and you want to now cut it now. So when a brigade goes to dig out tweets and say, El-Rufai said this in the past, you as a person that should use your empirical number 6 to think of why somebody said this and the point I was trying to make. And you will see it play out. Just like I said last year, that they were going to reverse to a fixed exchange rate. Is that what they are doing today? To save the Naira? I don't just talk, I'm sorry, with due respect. This is close to 20 years of experience speaking in matters of states and national public analysis.
All right, Rufai, it's interesting that you brought up the list of delegates traveling with the president, looking at Sheyi and Yinka Tinubu following the president to travel to Qatar, amidst the hunger and hardship in Nigeria. Is there a way that we can hold, politicians to their words? Because we saw the president make a statement that he was going to cut down on delegates traveling outside the country, and then, within Nigeria, he gave a stipulated number of individuals who can travel with him. And some of the arguments that we've been hearing are very, very watery, at best, saying that, okay, the president wants to take his children along with him to experience governance, how governance is done internationally and all that, admits what is going on. So is there a way to hold the president and politicians accountable for some of the things that they've said?
I mean, it shows you how much will they have to cut the Orosari report when they can't cut the shenanigan in presidency first. With due respect, I don't think all of these overly bloated Twitter speakers for the presidency, I think most of them should be let go of their jobs. Because all they do is they come to make a lot of unfounded arguments. That's what they do. How can somebody be saying that, oh, look at what the Americans are doing, look at what the British are doing, look at what other countries are doing, that they take their own people along? The question is, why can't we copy Argentina, where the president flies business class as the national carrier? Why can't we copy those ones? Why is it all of the wrong things we copy in this country? For those that want to cut the rest report, President Tinubu, hope you know, took ways and means of close to 7 trillion since he got in. This was the same man that took a supplementary budget. Part of it was to buy cars for the National Assembly and spend it in a frivolous way. Is that one ready to cut the cost of government? And somebody throws an hypocritical smoke screen, we call it out. People say, oh, you talked about the other report back in the days. Is that one ready to cut the cost of government? Ask him to start by telling us how much, how did he spend that 7 trillion? What did he spend it on? He increased the money of the National Assembly. The National Assembly started to put frivolous projects like building a library. All of a sudden, the National Assembly remembers they don't have a library. That's going to cost about 12 billion. He wants to cut the cost of government. They are going ahead to build a new house for the vice president. Did the vice president say he doesn't have a place to stay? These are the people that want to cut the cost of government. A lot of frivolous waste across board.
And Mr. Rufai, at the moment, I mean, newsmen have learned that, Sheyi and his brother Yinka, they've accompanied the president on virtually every foreign trip. And then we saw reports last year where Sheyi was also using the presidential jet. Sometime in October last year, he used the jet, one of the jets in the presidential fleet, to go on a private trip to Kano State to watch a polo tournament. I mean, with his friends, using taxpayers' monies for frivolous different frivolous things.
There goes the cutting of the cost of government. That's why I keep saying these things. It's just blatant hypocrisy. Okay. See, let me tell you something. The job of the government is to push forward their own narrative. The job of the media, a strong media, not a media that is coward, is to be able to push back with empirical. That's why I'm giving you facts on this matter. This government is a high spending government. Very high spending government.
As opposed to the Buhari's administration. High spending government.
Oh, Buhari's administration took a lot of loans, but the way this government has gone, okay, Buhari administration in the last how many years? In the last over 4 years, took ways and means of 23 trillion. That's what they said. In 6 months, this government has taken 7 trillion in ways and means. In 6 months.
But it seems like it's a record for subsequent administration to surpass the record of the previous administration. So some of us, it's not shocking to see
No. So the truth is when that same person now tells you he's now looking for Rosoye reports to be able to shut people down a day before a national strike, it's just been hypocritical.
Okay.
See,
so it was more of a small screen for Nigerians, just a distraction.
Yes, wait. If President Tinubu had come in and say, guys, on inauguration, we need to tighten up our belt. So even me, I will take cuts. I will take ministerial cuts. Please, I know there's a need for federal character, but can you just permit me to have like 30 ministers? Because we need to cut a lean cabinet and all of that. Can you permit me to have this? Can you permit me to have that? And then you show it. Imagine, see, have you gone to check the list of those that speak for government? You have PA photography, essay photography. You have PA new media, essay social media. I mean, you have all sorts of positions. And I'm like, is this how high the level of jobless is?
Okay. Anyway, let's not overflow this one.
Able-bodied men wake up in the morning and all they do is to tweet. I mean, they should go and get a job. And that's why we say if the private sector is working, most of the people that is government, they should be working in the private sector.
So
that's the real sector of the economy.
Okay, let's move away from.
You should start by cutting all of that first. That's what we are saying.
Okay, and let's talk about the recent reports, that became popular yesterday, especially on social media, and that's the story on Binance, where it is reported, even on Premium Times, that Nigeria, government at this particular time have actually, how Nigerian government has detained Binance executives. That is the headline on, Premium Times today. Similar headlines also on Vanguard.
Another very ill-thought-through decision, with due respect. Binance is not our problem. Our problem is that we don't have enough liquidity of dollars in the system. Pure and simple. That's our problem, not Binance. But we keep saying all of this for posterity. And let me tell you, please now let me land now.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Ask me a question. Let me land. Please.
Go ahead.
The reduction in the forex you are seeing today is because CBN issued a circular on the 27th of February saying now that they are going to be fixing the exchange rate by selling dollar at 1,300 to the BDCs. So they are fixing what the exchange rate should be. But the question to that is that sustainable? So hence the drop you are seeing in the currency, because obviously once you signal the market that you are selling $20,000 every day to BDCs, what happened next? That those that have the money, we have to bring the money out. You get, so that is what is signaling the market. It's not Binance. Just like we blame the Aboki FX for our problems. Is it Binance that made us have a dollar debt of about 7 billion that we can't even pay airlines to repatriate their money? Is it Binance that caused that one? People on Binance just capitalize. And when you say you want to know the KYC of those that are trading, I mean, this thing is peer-to-peer. I'm sure the government people does not even understand why it's called crypto. It means encrypted currency trade. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of understanding that needs to be had. Because at some point, that was how we said Aboki effect was the problem. Today is Binance. Who are we going to blame tomorrow? Maybe El-Rufai and his friends, like one political analyst said on television, that we are the ones increasing Naira. And they blame me too.
What role did you play, please?
No, didn't you hear a certain APC surrogate say that it's El-Rufai and his friends that are causing the increase of the Naira? You didn't hear that?
No, I think I missed that.
Eh?
I missed that. I missed it.
Go and look for it. That means you are not in Nigeria. It was trending. Now, El-Rufai and his friends are the ones that are increasing the Naira to the dollar. El-Rufai and his friends. It's me now. I mean, they will blame me.
Probably, you are not the El-Rufai. Maybe they mean El-Rufai too. You are not the only El-Rufai now. Go ahead, please.
He told me, listen, he told me during an interview that you, El-Rufai, and your friends are the ones causing the increase in the Naira. I mean, you hear all sorts of illogical absurdities in this country. Nigeria has become a land of illogical absurdities. And that's why, with due respect, when people were saying we should clap for the president because he takes responsibility for his action as a leader, I'm like, oh, I'm just singing Ludacris in my mind. How low can you go? How low can you go? So who should take the responsibility before? Me? Am I president?
All right. Talking about absurdities at this point in time, some people have called the lawmakers absurd for rejecting a bill that requires the president and governors to secure over 50 votes in both presidential and gubernatorial elections. And on Wednesday, this happened yesterday, the House of Representatives rejected a bill sought to make it mandatory for presidential and governorship candidates to secure more than 50% of the total votes cast to be declared winners. Mr. El-Rufai, what exactly is your take on the bill in the first place, and then the rejection of the bill?
So, with due respect, I will not want to call the lawmakers absurd. And this is me, that I'm a big critic of the lawmakers. When you check our election scenarios in this country, it's not as hard and fast like in some other climes that you can have an outright person get over 50% of the votes or 51%. You have a country battered by high level of voter apathy. And secondly, you have margins that are very close to call. Because what that will do definitely is that will push us to a runoff. And also, that's more budget, more money. And runoffs are even worse because the election apathy, the voter apathy, voters that you manage to bring out for the first cycle of the election, when you now say there's a runoff, it's always problematic.
Very true.
So I see sense in that argument. Maybe at a point where electoral awareness increases, or we can use that, but for now I think it's just bad. And okay, with over 300 billion, INEC organized that election that is below par. Now look at the logistics of having a runoff. Now look at the other logistics. It's not going to be as hard as fast as we want it to be.
All right.
So I think let's think in detail as regards it. It's not going to be as easy as we think it's going to be.
Very true. But quickly before we allow you go, just shortly, you can touch on this. This SIM-NIN linkage, as the National Communications Commission have now ruled out any form of extension of linking your SIM to NIN. And I've actually asked, telecommunication companies to bar any line that's not linked. And of course, over 12 million lines have not been linked yet.
So I think with due respect, people should go and do their NIN SIM linkage. It's very sad that they've not done it. But also, I have also heard occurrences where people have done the linkage, but they said the linkage was not accepted. And
exactly.
Most times people don't know.
True.
So should you blame it on them? So what do we say for other people too that fall in that category? So that's another thing, because there's no way you buy a new SIM, you register that you will not want to link or something. I don't know if you get my point. So should we also blame those people? I mean, that's why we should think of it holistically. But people should also link for security purposes and things like that.
I understand, but so far, security purpose, has it even
done what it was supposed to do?
Because the essence of the SIM.
Simon, you have a very strong point there. So far, and you see, that's why I said it's for the government to put for their propaganda. It's for us to tackle them with facts. With due respect, Simon, is it not the same man that oversaw the NIN process that was raising money for bandits and kidnappers when somebody was kidnapped? And he was not complaining that they've not harnessed with the security forces. So it speaks volumes. I gotta go, guys. Bless you guys.
All right, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Let's make good, passionate arguments to the betterment of our country. Let's logically. We just want this country to do well. Bless you. Thank you.
Okay, anyway, that was El-Rufai saying it right here on the Front Page Review. Remember, we are live on YouTube, so feel free to join the conversation right there. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People Abuja. Voice of the People Abuja. Remember, you can also comment and react to the conversation on social media.
We're live on YouTube as well as on WhatsApp. You can send us a message. It's at 0700 010 961 961 0700 010 961 961. Leave us a WhatsApp message or a call or two, as the case may be. Let's know that you're listening and lend your voice. I mean, we are the voice of the people at this point in time. We'll be joined at 8 o'clock by Mr. Larry Oguego, who will help us do a little bit of justice to some more of our headlines. Stay tuned.
VOP 96.1 FM. The Week in Review, a recap of all the big headlines and stories of the week. Saturdays at only on VOP 96.1 FM. Now you have a voice. Are you traveling to Lagos and desire a perfect getaway?
Look no further than the luxurious accommodations at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, number 42 Murtala Mohammed International Road, Lagos.
Relax and unwind in our beautiful appointed rooms, featuring all the amenities you need for a comfortable stay.
Now, whether you are traveling for business or pleasure, our attentive staff is here to ensure that your every need is met. We also offer complimentary pickup and drop from the Lagos Airport.
Why not take advantage of our state-of-the-art fitness center, outdoor pool, and enjoy a delicious meal at our on-site restaurant?
With stunning views, world-class service, and a prime location, Airport Golden Tulip Hotel is the perfect choice for your next vacation or business trip.
So why wait? Book your stay today and experience the ultimate in comfort and luxury at Airport Golden Tulip Hotel.
For bookings and reservations, please call 0815-8003-333 or 0815-7003-333. You can visit our website at airportgoldentuliphotel.com.
Airport Golden Tulip Hotel, where luxury meets comfort.
Believe me. Glory to God and to the Lamb. Beauty to the throne of eternity.
The
Brotherhood of the Cross and Star presents the Everlasting Gospel Movement on Radio every Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. on 96.1 FM. Tune in and be blessed. Thank you, Father.
We have been serving you hot and fresh content on radio, and you have been loving it. Now we're taking it further. Catch us live on YouTube at VOP TV for all the juicy content you can't resist. Talk shows, exclusive interviews, news, lifestyle, and more. It's all about you. VOP TV, show up, speak up.
Others may drop the mic. I talk into it. If you're in need of a voice, well, I've got one.
Voice of the People, 96.1 FM. Voice of the People, 96.1 FM.
Welcome back. This is the Front Page Review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. We're live on YouTube
at Voice of the People Abuja. So feel free to subscribe as well as drop a comment on that particular platform as well. And back to the headlines. And before we get to the headline, remember our studio lines are officially open. You want to send in a message via WhatsApp or you want to pull a call across to us, feel free to do that via the studio number
0700 961 961 0700 010 961 961. Good morning, Mr. Larry, and welcome on board this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Jesse. Good morning, Simon Peters.
Good morning.
I hope Abuja is good today.
We're good.
Abuja is good, but would have been great if we had the feeling of Abia State, because as Abia State residents are enjoying 24-hour supply. We in the FCT were even grappling to even see 30 seconds of power supply because it's been 24 hours in my area. I have not seen light.
Mr. Larry, how is the light situation where you are at the moment? Enugu State, I presume.
Yeah, the light situation in parts of Enugu is actually pretty much bad, but in some parts of Enugu, it's good. It used to be very, very bad a few weeks ago, as in terrible. The part where I stay, we have a minimum of the cuff 18 hours of power every day. So it's one of the places that you don't really get to use your generator if you don't want to. But it became very bad. But now it's like getting back to normal. It's getting back to normal. It's a case of how the mighty falling, because I remember when Abuja was Abuja. I mean, one of the trappings of Abuja was that you didn't have to bother about generators. You didn't even have to see the cables. I mean, Abuja was really Abuja underground cabling for public power supply, 247 power. It was fun. And then gradually Abuja is becoming like Lagos, and it's threatening to become worse than Lagos. It's sad, really, that we ran away from Lagos because of the congestion, and then we created a federal capital territory that is becoming as bad as Lagos. That's Nigeria for you.
All right, we're seeing in the news this morning that the power supply has dropped to by 250 megawatts. This is because of vandals that destroyed transmission lines in Abuja. And this is according to the general manager, Ndidi Mba, Public Affairs at TCN. He made this statement saying that the incident occurred on Monday and it affected over 70 towers. And the transmission line was destroyed at the same unit about 2 months ago. In December as well, a transmission line was also vandalized, and we're seeing incessant vandalism coming amidst concerns of low power supply and generation and all that. the question is, what can we do to prevent vandalism? Is there a problem with Nigerians not buying into Project Nigeria, making it look like, there's this different feeling you get when you know that this is my property, this is something that I own and I have to protect it, as opposed to what we see here in Nigeria. Just divide the national cake and let's move on with our lives.
But that is why I've always said that we cannot talk about policies and strategies and the things we would do without getting the people to think right about Nigeria. And you cannot get the people to think right about Nigeria when the leaders don't think right and behave right. The truth is that when people vandalize the transmission lines, what do they do with the components of the transmission line? They sell those things to Nigerians. Somebody may say, oh, they are unscrupulous businessmen, they are this, they are that, so they don't really care about Nigeria. But who buys it from them? Nigerians. How do they transport these things to the market and the places of sale? Through Nigerian routes. And people see them. The security agents are supposed to see them. The people, generally, ordinary people, see them. And that is why it's important that we begin to think about this issue of how we feel about Nigeria. I've always looked at this analogy. I repeat it once in a while. I hope one day to get into our consciousness. People see Nigeria now like a sinking ship. And when a ship is sinking, two things can happen. It's either the occupants of the ship begin to bail out water frantically to save the ship, or they begin to loot the ship so that the things they consider valuable will not go down with the ship. If most people join hands to bail out water, the ship will be saved and they will sail to their destination safely. If most people, on the other hand, begin to collect valuables from the ship, collect parts of the ship, collect their own valuable inventory inside the ship, they are accelerating the process of sinking. And in Nigeria, it appears our leaders are actually leading the charge in vandalizing the ship.
So can you expatiate on that? Leaders contributed in vandalizing the ship, please.
Now, when I talk about vandalizing the ship, what led to this analogy now is because people are vandalizing our transmission lines. Now, vandalizing the ship means, for instance, you feel that Nigeria is going down as a nation. So some people lose confidence in Nigeria. So what do? They move their naira to dollars. So they are moving their currency to a safe haven. They are vandalizing our currency, as it were, and depositing their value in dollar. While they do that, they are decimating the naira, making it less valuable. They take their monies to foreign countries. They buy houses in foreign countries. Remember that on this same program, I spoke about the fact that there is no way the legislators' income can take their home because their homes are in Paris and New York and elsewhere. The homes are too far away. So when you don't believe in your country, you take flights, that is literally and otherwise, to other nations. There was a time that we used to take pride in going for holidays and tourism activities to places called Yankari Game Reserve, places like Obudu Cattle Ranch and all of that, places like Ikogosi One Springs. Today, the average Nigerian considers it a thing of shame that you don't have money, that you're broke, that you are not a global citizen when you announce that you're going on holiday in Nigeria. In any case, you cannot even go to Yankari anymore because it's not safe to go to Yankari Game Reserve. The point I'm making is simple. When we don't believe that we can salvage our nation and make it great again, rather than invest in the nation, we panic and try to remove our own valuables for safekeeping before the ship sinks. That is the way Nigeria is going now. But when we believe in the nation, as in we believe with grit that we are going to save this nation, whatever it takes, what will happen is that we all join hands. I mean, if you have a cup, you start bailing out water with a cup. You have a basin, use a basin. You have a water pump, use a water pump. It's not a matter of what you have, it's a matter of the fact that you're bailing out water. I say this because some of our citizens say things like, me, I can't do anything, and is a politician. I say, no, if you have a spoon, start bailing with a spoon. If 1,000 persons, let me use this analogy, if 1 million Nigerians decide to rescue Nigeria, and Nigeria is the ship, and they are bailing with cup,  1 million cups, the volume will be more than that of a politician with a drum.
Very true. 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 Very
That is the truth.
Okay.
So when we look at this philosophy, people are saying things like protect our transition lines. The greatest protection to national property, the greatest protectors are the owners, the citizens. Unfortunately, there is that feeling that our ship is sinking. And rather than save the ship, we are trying to save our valuables. This is a lesson for both Nigerians and the political leaders. This is a ship we must save.
And talking about learning our lessons, especially as regards the power sector, it seems like a particular state in Nigeria is beginning to learn from the mistakes of other states, especially even at the national level, and trying to make policies, putting things to make things work. And on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, it talks about Aba saying Aba Power to start commercial operations this weekend. Aba Power Limited, which is a subsidiary of the Geometric Power, will start supplying power from one of its 3 turbines to consumers in the Aba ring-fenced area this weekend. And of course, this is even 2 weeks ahead of the takeoff date originally scheduled. That means they are even distributing or commercializing this power 2 weeks ahead of the scheduled date. We've seen power. If you're on social media, you must have seen a couple of people making video from Abia State saying now they enjoy 24 hours power. Really exciting times for people in Abia State. And of course, all credit goes to Alex Oti as well.
I'm very glad that you brought up the credit, who the credit should be given to at this point, because a lot of people have dragged the governor saying that the project didn't start with him, so why should he take all the credit? I mean, Daniel Riga has talked about that. Mr. Larry, what is your take on it?
No, I think it's fair that we give some of the credit to the boss of Geometrics because the project started way back. But we need to acknowledge that Alex Oti is actually the midwife, if I want to use that expression, that gave birth in the literal sense. As in, yes, somebody made the woman pregnant. The fetus grew in the womb. But it takes a competent midwife to bring out the head of that baby and bring the baby into the world. Alex Oti played a very significant role in midwifing that baby. And to that extent, he should take a lot of credit. But then we should also salute Batnaj and other critical players. We should salute even other stakeholders like EDC. We should salute NMPC that facilitated the supply of gas to the turbines. There are some people we should give credit, because if you don't give them credit and Alex Oti swallows the whole credit, if they decide to throw a tantrum and the gas runs dry, then you won't have any power. So I think we need to just share the credit to whoever should get it. Most of us do not realize, for instance, that if you want to distribute power where you have an electricity distribution company, you have to create your own distribution infrastructure. You got into a deal with them. So to that extent, even the EEDC that agreed to do a deal so that you don't have to start building a fresh distribution infrastructure, they should also get some credit. So that's how it works. But the most important lesson to be learned from the Abia State story is that Nigeria can still work. I mean, look at the power sector. I mean, it's a hopeless sector. But what is happening in Abia State is an example that Nigeria can still work. And I can tell you for free that it is embarrassing that this is happening in Abia, where they have to move gas long distances to get it to Abia. It is embarrassing that places like Rivers State is still struggling with power with all the gas. In fact, any Niger Delta state that has gas deposits should ordinarily have power in abundance. And when they have that 247 power supply, what will happen is that they will now free up the power from Kainji and Geregu and all those places for the rest of us who may not have the privilege of gas supply. Because if they have the gas supply right behind their homes, like we say in Pidgin, their domot, then what they can do is to just get their gas turbine, do what they have to do, get their power locally, and then we stop this transmission from maybe Kainji all the way to Rivers. There was a national grid. I don't know. We should be looking at state grids now. We should be looking at micro grids. We should even looking at solar for isolated villages and locations. It's cheaper than all this dragging wire all over the place. So
let's
the power sector in Abia has shown us that things can work if we really want to work on things.
Okay. Let's move away from the power sector quickly and let's talk about a recent development that has gotten a lot of Nigerians talking as regards, the essence of this policy. And on Premium Times, it talks about, Nigeria imposing levy on expatriate workers. President Bola Tinubu, just recently launched the expatriate employment levy known as the EEL, a government-mandated contribution imposed on employers who employ expatriate workers in Nigeria. And we've seen some of the conditions, in that particular policy being put in place by the federal government of Nigeria. And according to it, it says, employers are not required to pay about $15,000 for expatriates within the director level, and then $10,000 for other categories of expatriates annually. Now, the question Nigerians are asking, is it that for the companies, you pay this amount of money per directors you have? If you have like 3 directors who are expatriate in your organization, do you get to pay $15,000 for each director, or does this cover for the entire directors in that particular company? And also looking at the monies being asked to be paid, Nigerians have also asked, we are trying to grow the naira, so why didn't they put this in terms of the Nigerian value in itself? Not instead of dollars, asking them to pay $15,000. Why don't we find the equivalent in naira and ask them to pay this value in naira?
Or are they trying to make this act as a deterrent into hiring expatriates as opposed to hiring, locals?
Well, part of the explanations we got from the Minister of Interior is that they are discouraging the companies from giving expatriates jobs that Nigerians can do, which is actually very good. There are companies that bring in laborers to Nigeria. Literally speaking, that is, when I say laborers, I mean laborers, people who generally do what we call unskilled jobs, especially construction companies. We don't need people to come and do unskilled jobs in Nigeria. Excuse me, that money should better be paid to Nigerians. So what the policy is trying to do is to basically discourage using expatriates to do jobs that Nigerians can do very well, and that is commendable. And then as for denominating the payment in dollars, basically they're also looking at this being an international transaction. They're also looking at getting dollar inflow. Why? Because when the expatriates work officially, they are permitted to remit all or part of their income to their home country. So at least if a company is paying these expatriates $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 per annum, at least they should give us our $15,000 to shore up our foreign exchange inflow, because this other person will remit some of the money, just like Nigerians remit money to Nigerians in diaspora. They remit money to their home countries. So these are supposed
but
to be
they remit in the local
currency
currency of the country in which they operate in or they work in at the moment.
No, the truth of the matter is that I am for paying the money in dollars, for the obvious reason that if you have 1 million expatriate workers and on the average they pay $10,000, that is actually $10 billion, and
that's a lot of revenue.
That is foreign currency inflow for Nigeria. So it's important that we understand that it's an international transaction. We are discouraging foreign exchange flights. We are also discouraging losing jobs to expatriates. But another dimension we are not even looking at is that when Nigerians are engaged to do these jobs, what will happen is that apart from creating value and the experience for Nigerian workers, we also create a space where companies are more likely to use expatriates temporarily. If you are going to pay $15,000 per annum and you are really looking at profitability, you may want to assign a Nigerian to understudy the expatriate so that you pay this money for only 1 year. And this expatriate goes away. So the Nigerian gets the job done and you don't have to spend $15,000 per annum. So there are several advantages in actually discouraging jobs that should ordinarily go to Nigerians going to expatriates. However, we have to look at the fact that some of these things may discourage foreign investment. We should be able to separate jobs that Nigerians cannot do and jobs that do. If I bring an expatriate because there's no Nigerian that can genuinely do this job, and then you're penalizing me for bringing an expatriate when you don't have anybody who can do it, I naturally won't be happy with you. So we need to also ask ourselves, what of jobs Nigerians cannot do? Do we also penalize foreign investors who necessarily have to bring those people because we can't do the jobs and they may even be able to teach us? So the policy should become more holistic. It shouldn't just be about asking them to pay us. It should also be about, if we cannot do it, bring somebody who can do it. We won't pay you necessarily, but you train our people. So we have a more robust guideline that will go beyond just. So
in that case, does it not defeat the essence of the policy in the first place? Rather, they will actually, put the conversation or the argument forward that this job Nigerians cannot do it. Hence, why we're bringing them in. So, and it defeats the entire purpose of the policy in the first place.
Saying Nigerians cannot do it is not as simple as that. I mean, the job market is very clear now. I mean, we have platforms, we have IT. It's not like before, where we sit in a room and be arguing whether Nigerians can do it or not. We know what Nigerians can do and what Nigerians cannot do. We know the areas where we have enough hand to do this or that. So I don't think it's easy to deceive us and say, oh, we don't have Nigerians who can do it. We could even have guidelines. I mean, if you want to demonstrate that Nigerians can't do this job, then you can put out the offer, and then we see whether Nigerians will respond and whether they have the capacity. But I think the most important thing is that we need to have a robust, detailed policy that will not just focus on a narrow spectrum of the problem, that is not taking our jobs and then also giving us dollars. I think we need to learn to think in the medium term and long term also, by getting them to create an ecosystem where Nigerians will learn from expatriates. I mean, it's very, very important. Sorry, I need to say this quickly. I remember there was a time Indians came to refurbish Nigerian railways, and when they left, Nigerians couldn't spend the railway because they left with everybody, including laborers, and we didn't learn anything. When we have contracts and we insert in the contracts the transfer of skills, and we are serious about it, and we don't use it for political patronage, we get the best brains who are passionate about that line of engineering and industry, and we attach them. By the time these guys finish their work and leave, we would have transferred the skill to Nigerians, and then it becomes even a greater benefit in the long run than just the physical infrastructure. So I think we need to learn to think in detail and then follow up on these things. But corruption is also a big issue, because when you want to have this contract well spelled out and somebody is compromised, the person can put something in his pocket and write anything for Nigeria, and then we become the losers.
Okay. Anyway, join us on socials. We are on YouTube at the moment at Voice of the People Abuja. Search for us, and of course subscribe to the page and drop a comment as well. You can also call us up or send us a message on WhatsApp via this number 0700 010 961 961 0700 010 961 961.
Real quick, Mr. Larry, before we let you go, this particular conversation popped up. It was, the front page at on Premium Times, where there's inside detail of how the Nigerian government detained Binance executives, and this is still in lieu of what Joe Ajaero said, where the federal government strong-armed labor to down the strike that they were already, the protest rather, that they were going on. So at this point in time, we saw a little bit of that play out with the past administration, and is this something that we're going to be seeing with every administration now? Because it seems as though once one shows them the way, the others follow suit. So it's a thing of concern at this point.
They have always told us when we're young that bad things are easier to learn than good things. And I think that's the story of Nigeria. Our leaders are very quick to learn bad habits and bad means of governance than learning the good things. So they give us examples like, some presidents travel with their children. They don't want to give us examples that some presidents travel on commercial flights. So it's a pattern we have seen. But the reason for this whole thing is that we have leaders who do not understand the meaning and practice of democracy. Democracy is about the people being able to hire and fire their leaders and being able to hold the leaders accountable while they are leading them. And as part of that accountability process, the people have the right, not privilege, the right to protest, the right not to go to work, the right to say, I no agree. It is a right that is enshrined in the Constitution. It is not a suggestion, it's not a privilege. And when our political leaders understand this, what they should do is to behave in such a way that will not trigger protests, not to plan how to compel people to either drop their plans to protest or to compromise them or punish them to stop protesting. I've always said that a peaceful protest is better than anarchy any day. It's better you actually protest. Protesting is part of the process of venting. That's when you protest, even if you don't get all the results you want. You feel better that at least you have said your bit, you have done your bit, you have let them know that you're upset. The worst part is what Ajero said. He said that we are hungry, and they don't want us to say we are hungry. Now, it's very difficult for a man to be hungry, and then you don't even allow the man to shout, I'm hungry. It's what Vibo say, that you cannot beat a child and tell the child not to cry. Crying is a necessary consequence of being beaten up by your parents or guardians. And so if you beat a child, you should allow the child to cry. So if they make us hungry, we necessarily become angry and want to express both our anger and our dissatisfaction with the system. And if they don't allow us to do that, what will happen is that the anger will build up. And anytime anger builds up, it's like a device that has plenty of pressure without a safety valve. The next thing you may have is an explosion. Remember SAP riots? It was a similar situation where people felt bottled in without any possibility of expressing their anger that led to SAP riots under the Babangida administration. So I think they need to learn that in a democracy, people should necessarily be allowed to say, we are hungry, we are angry, we don't want this thing to go like this or like that. And then you shouldn't just allow them to say it. You should also take notes and respond. Not always do your big bat and then just quarrel and then try to victimize or punish or scuttle these programs. Democracy thrives when people are permitted to say their bit. In advanced countries, people go to picket White House. People go to stand in front of massive national monuments. When I say people, I mean like 5 or 6 persons with placard, and nobody comes there to beat them up. Try it in Nigeria. Just 5 persons or 6 persons to make their statement. So I think we need to learn how to run a democracy. If we are going to get it right, we must allow people to be able to say their bit, because it is the voice of the people that ventilates democracy.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. We've come to the tail end of our show this morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, for always joining us. Why is he
okay, I saw a particular development. Mr. Larry, I don't want to ask your opinion on this, but I just thought I should give this to you. In Edo State, we know that the primaries happened, sometime last week, and of course, we saw the 2 parallel election where Ighodalo won and Shuaibu won on the other hand. On Tuesday was the day for the collection of certificate of return. Aswe Ighodalo came to Abuja on Tuesday to collect the certificate, and after he left, Shuaibu went there also. And in addressing journalists, he said he's aware that someone came earlier to collect certificate of return. When you see this drama play out in the Nigerian political space, I don't know what to say, Larry. Very amusing.
Well, I will tell you something very simple. I think these guys are wasting money organizing their reality show and putting cameras everywhere. I think what they need to do is to just put cameras for the politicians, So when they put those cameras, we don't need a BB for us to have fun. Just put cameras and follow these politicians around, and we'll watch their antics and then have some fun. That's the truth of the matter. Then sometimes he said somebody came here.
He said today is the said day to for collection of certificate, but I understand that someone came yesterday and was given.
Someone came yesterday.
Yes, and then he said the court will decide.
I understand that someone came here yesterday and collected my certificate.
No,
I gave it to him. I'm bringing my certificate. I mean, that's how low.
Thank you, Mr. Larry. Thank you so much.
And people are watching, and we are telling them to come and invest in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Come and invest in Edo State. We cut ourselves on slacks.
Thank you, Mr. Larry.
All right, thank you so much.
That
Mr.
is the
Larry,
most
for
hilarious
joining us.
statement I've heard in a pretty while. You know, Aswe was there on Tuesday, collected it, and then on Wednesday, Shuaibu went and said, "I understand that someone came.
This is a case of
I was given
you snooze, you lose.
the certificate. Don't worry.
It's a case of you snooze,
He said,
you lose.
you know, the court will decide. I don't know what is happening in Edo State, but Shuaibu and Aswe Igodalo need to settle whatever rift they have right now within the structure of their party.
Anyway, this has been the Front Page Review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. Thank you so much for listening to us. My name is Gesere.
And of course, I'm aware that Gessie said her name first, but I'll say mine as well. My name is Simeon Sunday.
Sports Beat is up next.